Ever wondered what it's like inside the most mysterious place on Earth? Watch as we send a drone to explore the secrets of Area 51. What do you think happened?
So we're going to start off with Storm Area 51 and the man who went missing during this storm. Not sure what to call this situation. Wasn't really an attack. I guess like a bombardment. Anyway, I remember being pretty entertained that a group of weirdos decided to band together to do this. Some were doing it ironically, some fully believed they were going to make history, and I'm willing to bet some people had no idea why they were there. Not a lot ended up happening though. This is a heavily guarded, top secret military base, so I think you'd be crazy to think they would have gotten very far. Though a few arrests were made, including a 60-year-old woman, but one man actually went missing. The man's name has never been released to the public, but he had last been seen near the entrance of Area 51. He didn't go missing for long though. He was found and faced a trespassing fine. A little anticlimactic, but unless it wasn't really him. And they simply replaced him with an identical clone. Oh yeah. We found Zach. He has to pay a little fine. Just make sure he doesn't do this again, alright? Meanwhile, the real Zach is trapped in a pod somewhere being experimented on in Area 51. You never know. Number 9, Kennyvich. Kennyvich, an experienced hiker and explorer, disappeared in 2014 while looking for a strange cave in the Nevada desert. He had posted a YouTube comment stating that he had come across a strange cave shaped like an M near Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51 that had caused his body to start vibrating. He was encouraged by some commenters to search for the cave again and to capture it on film, which he did, posting a video to his YouTube channel, Snakebite McGee, entitled M Cave Hike. A couple months later, he ventured out for a third time to the cave and sadly was never seen again. His cell phone was found at the entrance of an old mine shaft, but his body has never been found. Now, he very well could have got lost or had some sort of accident, but given how close the cave is to Area 51 and the claims Kenny made about the strange vibrations he felt around it, rumors and theories of course began spreading online that he may have stumbled upon something important, possibly related to extraterrestrials or government secrets, and that his quest was intentionally thwarted. Despite extensive searches, no concrete evidence or leads have been found regarding his whereabouts. Next on the list we have Jerry Freeman. Now, although this guy didn't go missing, he did trek quite close to the forbidden military base, and according to him, he was actually within the restricted area, although the exact borders of Area 51 are sometimes a bit unclear. Jerry Freeman, an archaeologist, decided in 1997 that he was going to embark on this 7-day trek into the highly restricted Nevada test site. He wasn't going because he wanted to try and learn the secrets of Area 51. He was actually going in order to trace the trail of the lost 49ers, a group of pioneers who had traversed the area in 1849, many of which ended up losing their lives. He was in search of an inscription made by one of the pioneers, which was believed to be in NYE Canyon on the Nellis Air Force Base, which is of course completely off limits. Freeman had quite the adventure. He spent his time avoiding security, sleeping with nothing but a blanket and the clothes on his back. He traveled very light, and by the end of his trek he almost completely ran out of water. He never found what he was looking for, but he did claim to have seen Area 51. Freeman had climbed a ridge above the canyon looking down on Papu's dry lake, which is just south of Area 51. He claimed that during the day he didn't really see much, but that night had seen lights, one of which looked like it was coming from a security vehicle perhaps, and one which was stationary but seemed to grow and shrink in size, which could have been a hangar door opening and closing in the distance. At number 7 we have Paul Benowitz. Paul Benowitz was a businessman and UFO enthusiast who became entangled in this conspiracy surrounding Area 51, mostly during the 1980s. Benowitz claimed to have discovered evidence of extraterrestrial activity near the currently Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, which he believed was connected to Area 51. He reported witnessing unidentified flying objects and strange phenomena like unusual lights and electronic disturbances. Benowitz became convinced that a secret government program was conducting alien research, leading him to share his findings with various other government agencies, including the Air Force and the Defense Intelligence Agency. His claims caught the attention of a UFO investigator named Bill Moore, who admitted later on that he had got caught up in a disinformation campaign against Benowitz on behalf of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and at a 1989 Mutual UFO Network conference, fed him false information about extraterrestrial activities and crashed UFOs, and as a result, Benowitz's mental health deteriorated, and he became increasingly consumed by paranoia, at one point just locking himself in his room. He eventually ended up in a mental hospital where he was under surveillance for a month. He ended up passing away in 2003. Next up, we have the disappearance of Patrick Carnes. On April 13th, 2011, 86-year-old Patrick Carnes was road tripping back to his home in Reno, Nevada, after visiting family in Ohio. At 9 p.m. that night, Patrick was pulled over by a police officer for a minor traffic infraction, went along his way, stopped for gas in Wells, Nevada, and that's his last known location. The next morning, his car was discovered abandoned at an exit off of Interstate 80. Nobody knows what happened to him. Extensive search was launched. Nothing turned up. No leads. Nothing. Carnes' son, as well as authorities, believe foul play was involved. People don't often disappear out of nowhere without something bad having happened, and this incident occurred within a month, where 3 other people had gone missing within the same general area.
Starting our list off at number 10, Dark History. This secret base in the Nevada desert acts as the US military hub for spatial engineering, and, possibly, hopefully, some reverse engineering for some alien crafts. The area is named after the geological grid of the desert. The area gained notoriety, of course, in the early 90s, with numerous claims that workers had worked on alien aircraft and even heard of harboring alien creatures underground. The entire premises is fenced off with signs saying no photography allowed, and also use of deadly force is authorized. So whatever they're hiding here, it's mostly military, hopefully with a little splash of ET. The base has been a testing facility for the Air Force and remains one of the most highly secured and secretive bases in America. Number 9. Tikaboo Peak. Say you're watching this video and you want something, right? What's the closest you can legally get to Area 51, right? What's the only way you can possibly see footage of a little alien ship coming and or going? Well, you gotta go to Tikaboo Peak, that's how. Located right in the middle of the Nevada desert, Area 51, of course, is hard to see. This peak could help that problem. Bob Lazar, back in 1989, he spoke out to news outlets explaining how he used to work in Area 51, specifically on UFOs using anti-gravity technology. With this peak being just 26 miles away from the top secret base, you might just see a test flight or two from the bushes, just like Bob did, right? Number 8. They can't stop all of us. Back in the 1950s, the public wanted answers as well. It was June 17th, 1959. The Reno Evening Gazette published a story with the headline reading, "More flying objects seen in Clark sky." More? What'd I miss? More flying objects? Then the paper even went on to describe how Sergeant Wayne Anderson, a local sheriff, was one of many locals that spotted what the paper described as an object bright green in color and descending towards the earth at a speed too great to be an airplane. Yeah, like a meteor, I guess. I don't know, that's terrifying. What could they possibly be talking about? Number 7, the Gorman Dog Fight. This one is a classic. A lot of people believe this encounter. This encounter lasted a whopping 27 minutes in the air. A dogfight happened between a veteran World War II fighter pilot named George F. Gorman and a UFO. It was him versus a white orb, and they were both at an extremely high altitude above Fargo, North Dakota. Gorman told a local newspaper following the 1948 event, the experienced pilot said, and I quote, "If anyone else had reported such a thing, I would have thought they were crazy." Captain Ruppelt operated Project Blue Book, a series of studies conducted by the US Air Force between 1947 and 1969, and there's reports of the same dogfight from the ground as well. So yes, there are multiple eyewitnesses for this one. Number 6, Project Aquatone. So we think about aircraft evolution over the last, say, 100 years. Well, back in 1955, Area 51 was selected by the CIA as a testing site for the Lockheed U2. And if you've seen Top Gun Maverick lately, good on you, great film, 10 out of 10. But if you've seen it, this will tickle your fancy. The Lockheed U2 was this high altitude aircraft. It was the top of the line technology, and tests were originally conducted over the codename Project Aquatone. Now on June 25th, 2013, the CIA approved the release of declassified documents that details, for the first time officially, the history of the U2 and Oxcart programs in response to a Freedom of Information Act request, just like we're seeing right now with these, UFO videos online. The release of those documents marked the first time that the US government actually acknowledged the existence of Area 51, and since then we've been waiting around for another big announcement or something.
Starting off this countdown, we have the secret entrances. Just last year, a man claimed to have found 3 hidden entrances that lead to Area 51. He discovered this after using Google Earth. He compared images of the base from different time periods. In one particular area in 1998, there seems to be no roads or entrance. Satellite pictures of that same location in 2005, 2010, and 2013 show a road and a dead end with what looks like an entrance and tunnel carved into a mountain. In fact, at the dead end, there appears to be cars parked there. Seems unusual for people to just park there, because what is around for them to do? Wander the barren plain alone? No, they're parking their cars there and then entering Area 51 through this secret entrance. In our 9th spot, we have the alien craft. What I'm about to show you is a leaked video and some photos from Area 51 of an alien spacecraft test. The video features a flying object hovering in the sky and moving in ways that other crafts definitely don't do. This was recorded on May 15, 2017, and then was leaked years later. If this isn't actually a UFO, then what could it be? That's what's baffling people. The way it just moves up and down and side to side that quickly is very strange, especially because of its size. What do you think though? Is this proof that Area 51 has gotten their hands on an alien spacecraft? Moving on to number 8, we have the transportation of a UFO. When this next photo was leaked online, it was met with a number of conspiracy theories. So this is the image of the CIA transporting a large part for one of their top secret projects. In fact, when this was getting transported, the CIA sealed off the entire highway. And I'm sure you can see why this was met with a number of conspiracy theories. Like, look at the shape of the thing that they're transporting. That is definitely a UFO or part of a UFO spaceship. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Somehow, a group of bikers made it onto the road. When they were stopped by some soldiers, they asked what they were transporting, and the soldier said they found a UFO up in the mountains. Now apparently he said this jokingly, but who knows? In our 7th spot, we have the Tic Tac UFO. Last year, another UFO was spotted near Area 51. This one was given the name the Tic Tac UFO because of its tic-tac shape and white or bright appearance. So this spacecraft was caught on footage by a person driving along near Area 51. He was driving along the Extraterrestrial Highway. That's the name given to the highway in Nevada, as a number of UFOs have been seen by drivers while on this route. At first, the driver thought that what he was seeing was just a cloud. When he got closer to it, he realized that it was definitely a craft of some kind. Later on, alien hunter Scott Waring confirmed that the UFO was in fact alien in origin. Also, the area in which he was driving through had a number of wind farms in the area. Turns out that in the past, a lot of UFOs have been spotted around wind farms, and one UFO even crashed into a windmill many years back. Some say this is because aliens are fascinated with human technology. In our 6th spot, we have Stephen Bren. In 2016, UFO hunter Steve Bren captured video and photographic evidence of another alien spacecraft close to Area 51. These were taken near his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, an hour drive from Area 51. Using a night vision camera, Steve head out to Red Rock Canyon to try and capture a UFO. The first couple of hours, there was nothing. Then he saw mysterious weird flashing lights appear over a mountain. He said this in regards to the UFO and its lights, and I quote, "First one, then two, then more and more. They put on a spectacular show. I am glad I was patient because the show they put on kept getting better and better.
Alright, we're gonna get right into the weeds here with Lazar's claims about flying saucers at Area 51. So when he claimed to have worked there, he said there were 9 alien aircrafts being held and studied at the base. In terms of what these alien crafts were being used for, more detail on that in a bit, but basically they were reverse engineering the alien technology. In terms of what these alien aircrafts looked like, Lazar described them as looking completely different from one another. Some of them he only got a quick glimpse of and were too far away to make out proper details, but a couple really stood out to him, and one he referred to as the Jello mold, describing it looking like, quote, your classic Jello mold with the ripples on the sides of it. One he saw looked more like a flat disc, and part of it was damaged. He figured maybe researchers had been maybe testing whether or not their weapons could penetrate it, or it could have just crashed or been shot down initially. And most of his research was happening at Area S4. But let's go to Hannah for more info on that.
Alright, thanks James. Unless you're living under a rock, I'm positive you have heard about Area 51, otherwise you probably wouldn't have clicked on this video. But do you know about Area S4? Well, neither did most people until Bob Lazar decided he was sick of the secrets and decided to tell the world. According to him, Area S4 is a secret base located in Nevada near its better known counterpart, Area 51. So, why the super secret base connected to an already pretty secret base? Well, aliens. Alien spaceships, alien intel, alien technology, antimatter reactors, and moscovium, also known as element 151. More on that later. But Area S4 was aggressively denied by the government, who even went so far as to say that Bob Lazar never worked at the Area 51 base in the first place. But here's the thing. At one time, they had also said that there was no Area 51 base, and that they weren't big brothering us either. So in this case, I'm thinking I might be inclined to believe Bob for this one.
No.
In our number 10 spot, we have the black helicopters. Apparently outside of Area 51, people have spotted black helicopters fly in and out of the area. It is said that this is the home to the government's secret helicopters. Dating all the way back to the 1970s, people have reported seeing these black helicopters. There were rumors that they were to do with cattle mutilation, toxic chemical releases over neighborhoods. But most people seem to believe that those are just stories to cover up what they're really doing, flying the reptilian leaders in and out, let's be real. In our number 9 spot, we have studying the spacecraft. There have been a few whistleblowers that have worked at Area 51, and these people have stated that the engineers that are working in the testing area are actually reverse engineering alien spaceships. We can assume they are doing this to figure out how the aliens made these shapes and how they fly so fast. Man, that's so trippy. As far back as the 1950s, people have reported seeing unidentified flying objects at the southern Nevada military base. One of the whistleblowers, named Bob Lazar, has spoken out about this, and apparently while working in Area 51, he saw flying saucers that were powered by an element called 115. And that was years before that element was recorded as found by humans. Imagine working on an alien spaceship and coming across a whole new metal that's not from this planet. And I'm sure they've discovered things that I wouldn't even be able to dream about in my wildest dreams. In our number 8 spot, we have aliens. Okay, so there is no photographic evidence for this claim, but there have been whistleblowers that have said this to be true. Honestly though, anyone else thinking what I'm thinking? Are the aliens being held hostage? Or are we being held hostage? Let's be real. Most likely they're controlling us, or the aliens are being held hostage by the reptile people that are already here and running mankind. That's it. I'm out. Apparently though, Bob Lazar has said that he walked down a hallway at S4 in Area 51 and he saw a small, gray extraterrestrial between two men in lab coats through a small window. Apparently he was told by a guard to stop looking and, move along. There have been other sightings of gray creatures in other secret military bases, such as the one in Dulce, New Mexico, in 1979 by a man by the name of Philip Schneider. So, I believe that Bob is telling the truth. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. In our number 7 spot, we have weather control. I've heard about this for quite some time, and I truly feel like if there's something that I could fully get on board with and believe right away, it's the idea that the government controls the weather. Hear me out. First off, being able to do that would be extremely valuable, and honestly, it could make you potentially threatening to your competitors. Don't mess with me, otherwise I will make sure it rains on your country for a full month and all of your crops will suffer. Watch, wars in the future will just be governments messing with each other's weather. That would be wild. If we can make objects fly, if we can send messages through empty space through a phenomena that we call the internet, we call Wi-Fi, we could definitely create a few clouds every now and then. We do have proof though that the government has done research projects to modify clouds in the past, but who knows if there was a conclusion to this experiment, let alone if this experiment took place in Area 51. In our number 6 spot, we have the CIA filings. Apparently, up until 2013, we had no idea that Area 51 even officially existed. In 2005, the National Security Archive at George Washington University filed a Freedom of Information Act about the U2 spy plane program, and so in 2013, the CIA was forced to declassify documents that related to Area 51. After this reveal, it became known that the military spent 20 years testing aerial surveillance programs called U2 and Oxcart, and it also confirmed the existence of Area 51, which the locals would have been able to confirm regardless, but whatever. I could just imagine after the release of this information, all of the locals start connecting the dots about all the missing people in their area and blame it on the aliens. I would love to speak to some of the locals and see what they actually think and say. That would be fascinating. Anyways, they kept Area 51 a secret for so long that there must be a number of darker secrets within it that we don't know about. You can only assume.
Starting us off at number 10, we have the U2 spy planes. I know, we just want to get to the alien stuff, but in order to get there, we need to go through the weird human stuff first. So, Area 51 is commonly a place of suspicion, with many thinking that there is proof of aliens and alien tech that lives there. But, once the top secret area was finally recognized in 2013, it was released to the public that it is actually a top secret US Air Force base, where they test tons of new and not yet released aircrafts. One of those aircrafts being the U2 spy plane. The U2 spy plane was first created to keep an eye on the Soviet Union, as the US was worried about a nuclear threat. This plane is known to fly higher than 70,000 feet with a top speed of 805 miles per hour. The idea was that if this plane could soar so high up and at top speeds, it would be less noticeable than other spy planes at the time. It also didn't need to refuel until after 3,000 miles or so. Flight tests began at Area 51 on August 1st, 1955, after a short 8 months of construction. The project was known as Project Aquatone. Sounds like a skin treatment. The defense contractor Lockheed Martin built the first plane on a $22 million budget, which is about $207 million today. Even though this plane was crazy expensive, one was actually shot down over Soviet airspace in 1960. Both the pilot and the planes were retrieved, but forced the US to admit that they were spying. So what happened next? Well, the SR71 Blackbird. That's right, coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the SR71 Blackbird, the plane that was to make up for the US Air Force's previous failure. Pressure was on the Lockheed Martin team after the U2 was shot down. They were to create an entire new plane that could not be shot down and fully operational in 20 months. In case you don't know this, that is an extremely difficult task. The Blackbird finally began testing on December 22nd, 1964, and it featured tons of new tech. Aircraft designer Kelly Johnson said everything had to be invented. Everything. It was known to many as the perfect spy plane. It could fly up to 80,000 feet high and also had a top speed of 2,100 miles per hour. That's a freaking huge jump from the U2. Many at the time believed that the remains of the Roswell Crash in 1947 were actually being kept at Area 51, and don't worry, settle down, I'll get there. But because this was during the Cold War, the CIA actually encouraged the myth that aliens were flying around Area 51 so that the Soviets wouldn't know about their newest weaponized toy. But of course, that wasn't the last of their super cool high-tech tech toys. At number 8 we have the A12 Oxcart. This was another plane that was in development at the same time as the Blackbird and was in the running to be the new recon spy plane, but the Blackbird won on that one. The other difference was that the A12 Oxcart had a crew of 1 and it was operated by the CIA and not the US Air Force, who could fit a crew of 2 in the Blackbird. Later testing proved that the CIA Air Force didn't want to go through the development of this aircraft, so the A12 slowly morphed into the Blackbird, and even the later plane known as the Interceptor YF-12. The Oxcart, however, was smaller than the Blackbird and faster and could reach higher altitudes, but it was still not the winner in this scenario. It could reach heights of up to 90,000 feet and a top speed of 2,208 miles per hour. These craft only operated from 1967 to 68, which is no wonder why most people forget about this one. Or maybe we were forced to forget about it. It's a conspiracy, man. At number 7 we have the M21 D21 Tagboard. Originally known as the Q12, this craft was originally intended to be expendable. The name was later changed to D21 Tagboard because it was carried on the back of the A12 launch vehicle designated at M21. M stood for mother and D stood for daughter. Then the project was given the name Tagboard. The D21A was built with titanium and various radar absorbing plastic composites and looked like a stovepipe with a cone in its inlet. The D21 could fly up to speeds of 1,700 miles per hour at an altitude of 95,000 feet. It also had a 3,450 mile range before it needed to refuel. That's pretty impressive. The M21 was a 2-seat version of the A12, but unfortunately these tag team drone planes had a bit of an accident. During a flight on July 30th, 1966, a D21 collided with an M21 on release, destroying both crafts. Both crewmen were able to be ejected in time, falling to the sea, but one of them tragically drowned after his pressure suit leaked. The D21 drone was then later replaced by the KH-11 keyhole reconnaissance satellite. At number 6 we have everyone's favorite new toy, drones! Okay, I don't actually mean the US Air Force is testing all those tiny little remote controlled toys that we all buy online, but it is believed that the new hangar being built in the same place where the A12 Oxcart was tested is actually home to a fleet of new unmanned drones that are just waiting to be taken for a test fly. Test drive? You know, it doesn't matter, you get the point. A quartet of modern hangars divided into 2 separate buildings measuring 90 feet wide are known to be the hangars number 20 to 23 and have been seen going through some pretty major upgrades. Upgrades for what? Probably these drones. These drones are known more professionally as unmanned combat air vehicles, UCAVs for short. Many theorize that the extension and building of this new hangar in the southern ramp area of the base will house large numbers of these craft, keeping them secret and covered up from overhead spies, inclement weather, and of course our friends above us, the aliens. Coming in at our halfway point at number 5, we have trespassing humans. This one should be an obvious one because I'm sure we all remember the Storm Area 51, they can't stop all of us raid back in September of 2019, which definitely didn't go as planned. This was a Facebook event that over 2 million people responded to going, as well as 1.5 million responded with interested. Obviously, because of all the alien rumors, myths, and legends, just about every single day tourists can be seen trying to get as close as they possibly can to the top secret base. Although the closest people can get is to the gates, which are still miles away from the actual base. Clearly, at least 2 million people thought that if they all band together, then they could storm past the gate, run a few miles, and reach the ultimate destination of Area 51. Emphasis on thought, because on the actual day of the event, only about 150 people showed up, and none of them got in. Shocker. I remember the day I came across this event and I laughed my butt off because this was before it made international headlines and I thought it was pretty cool, and I think I even actually responded as going because I thought it was just so freaking funny. But anyway, I never had any real intentions of going because of our number 4 spot. That's right, coming in at number 4 we have camo dudes. All over and around Area 51 you can see camo dudes guarding the gates, viewpoints, and other mildly unprotected entrance and vantage points. These scary and intimidating camo dudes ride around in pure white jeeps, making their presence known to any and all who dare to get close to the top secret base. At the 2 entrances of Area 51, huge and important signs can be seen stating that there is absolutely no trespassing, and if you have the inkling to do so, let it be known that these camo dudes have clearance to use lethal force. That's right, they will shoot at you, and what's the point in finding the answer to are we alone in the universe if you die immediately right after? Or even dying without getting the answer, that's even worse. These camo dudes have also been known to have the ability to listen in on whoever is near the gates, and when tourists ask themselves, hey, I wonder if they will wave to us, they immediately give back a nice little wave confirming that you are being watched and listened to. So, tread carefully. Starting us off in our top 3 spot at number 3, we have UFOs. That's right, no duh. Due to all the top secret flight testing that they do in and around the top secret base, many have found secret little vantage points to camp out and see if they spy anything. With some luck, many have reported seeing UFOs and strange lights above the airbase at night, and many don't believe them to be human technology. Not only have there been reports of strange lights and UFOs above the base, but even in the state of Nevada, there have been countless eyewitnesses to strange things and objects in the sky. I mean, that only makes sense, as Nevada is home to the Extraterrestrial Highway, which of course was created due to all the alien lore surrounding the area. But many bars, restaurants, cafes, gift shops, all of those things all go along with the theme and also believe for themselves that aliens are indeed real and are indeed here. At number 2, we have spacecrafts. Actual alien spacecrafts. Oh my god! Back in 1942 in Roswell, New Mexico, a devastating crash apparently took place on the night of July 8th. The Roswell Army Airfield reported that they recovered a flying disc from the scene, only to retract their statements soon after, reporting that it was actually just a crashed weather balloon. Yeah, right. Since this incident, many have gone on record saying that the famous picture of Jesse A. Marcel posing with the weather balloon debris was indeed faked. That was what they were asked to report on after the top secret government officials confiscated the actual crash debris and were never seen of again. It is now popular belief that not only was the craft confiscated and brought into a top secret high government hands, there was also 3 human-shaped bodies. Notice the wording. Human-shaped, but not human. Due to all of its top secret mythos, many believe that once Area 51 was built in 1955, that's where all of the evidence from Roswell, New Mexico now rested. Of course, there's no way to prove it unless we get in there, and by the way, I also recently learned that there are even secrets and truths kept from the freaking president. So don't count on getting close to any of that info anytime soon. But wait, back up. Dewey, did you say 3 human-shaped bodies were recovered? Does that mean... Yup. Finally coming in at our number 1 spot, and the most shocking and obvious thing on our list is actual aliens! Back in 1995, footage of an alien autopsy supposedly at Area 51 was released thanks to London-based video entrepreneur Ray Santilli. This footage caused an international sensation and was shown on television networks all over the world. Santilli later in 2006 admitted that the film was a reconstruction, which, no duh. But do we really think the government and the Men in Black would really let the news channels all around the world show an alien autopsy? I don't think so. But that being said, Santilli said the footage was reconstructed, as in that there is actual footage of this autopsy, and whoever created this widely released tape was actually recreating an event that actually happened. To the best of my knowledge, there is no hard proof that this footage exists out there, but it wouldn't matter anyway, because most of it is supposedly lost. All I know is that 3 human-shaped bodies were recovered from Roswell, and that can mean a lot of things. Whether they're at Area 51 or not, I think they're here.
In our number 5 spot, we have the US military base. Author of Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base by Annie Jacobson, has been quoted as saying that yes, Area 51 is filled with secrets, but these secrets are around creating weapon systems and surveillance platforms that no one can think of, for the US military. Hence the reason it needs to remain a secret so they can one-up their opponent. Annie has gone on to say that if everyone could think of what they were doing, then they wouldn't be doing their job correctly. Apparently Area 51 is the birthplace of what is called ISR intelligence. Why on earth would they not understand most earthly aircraft at this point in time in the world? They are working on reverse engineering alien spacecraft. I believe it. In our number 4 spot, we have secret disappearances. In the area of Area 51, there have been a lot of reportings of disappearances. Some of young people and some are older. It has been reported that these disappearances are tied to Area 51, as some believe it's the aliens within the base that are taking these people. But most likely the actual people of Area 51 are taking these people as test subjects, as there is no sign of them ever again after they disappear. That's what I think, at least. Where are they going to, and why is it so often within the vicinity of the base? Questions only the insiders would most likely know the answers to. In our number 3 spot, we have the Nevada Triangle phenomenon. A lot of people are very well aware of the Nevada Triangle phenomena, and we're pretty positive that the people of Area 51 would know the dark secrets around it. From Las Vegas to Reno, Reno to Fresno, and Fresno to Las Vegas, there have been many reports of unusual goings-on. Similar to the famous Bermuda Triangle, people disappear forever. Planes go missing, aliens have been spotted, claims of magical rocks, and so much more. The area and all its mysteriousness continues to be a complete mystery. Within the area is the Sierra Mountains, and if you have seen the new Jurassic Park movie, that is where they keep the major dinosaurs. I bet you the dinosaurs are just a front for the truth. That is where they keep the aliens, obviously. Coming up at our number 2 spot, we have portals to a new dimension. Along with the home base for the reptilian race, people believe that Area 51 actually holds the portal to another dimension, which honestly isn't too far-fetched when you hear about the reportings of the people that have gone near the area in the Sierra Mountains and have disappeared, only to have been teleported to a new area. Yep, these are real reportings from seemingly coherent people. The people inside the Area 51 base would know about this, and if strange things like this are happening in this area, then I bet you that it is not a coincidence that there's a secret government base right smack in the middle of it. Coincidence? I think not, sir. In our number 1 spot today, we have time travel. Along with the portal to another dimension theory, there is also a theory that the people of Area 51 are hiding a time travel machine. That's right. We know that scientists in testing facilities around the world have been playing with speeds that are too fast to imagine, so it is possible that something has been invented to travel time. A lot of people say, yes, this is probably possible, especially with the rise of people claiming that they have time traveled from the future. However, some of their claims have been inaccurate, such as, Donald Trump being the last US president, or that World War III would be in 2015. In any case, if there is a time travel machine, then Area 51 employees would possibly know about it. At least the higher-ups would, even if the employees didn't know what they were working on.
Bob Lazar also gave vivid descriptions of the technology that was used to gain access into S4, hand scanners. Now, hand scanning tech may not seem all that impressive to us these days, but keep in mind, he was working at Area 51, or claimed to, in the late 80s, so this was pretty advanced technology for the time. If this is true, you can only imagine some of the futuristic tech they could have over there now. According to Bob Lazar, the security system at the S4 facility involved a unique and advanced hand scanning process. When you'd come up to secure areas, you'd be required to undergo a biometric scan using a hand scanning device. Lazar described this device as a very sophisticated piece of tech that scanned the unique patterns and features of the hand to grant access. He'd place his hand on a scanning surface, and the device would analyze all the specific contours and lines on the hand. The security measure was part of the stringent protocols that were in place to control access to all the extraterrestrial technology housed at S4. But now, back to Hannah.
Next up, the Roswell Crash. Now, while Bob Lazar was not the first person to discuss a UFO crash landing in Roswell, New Mexico, he is the first person who has also claimed to have worked on a secret government base to discuss it. So, what is the Roswell Crash? Well, it's an event that took place in 1947. A local farmer discovered what appeared to be a flying saucer crash landed in his backyard. The military was pretty quick to collect the debris. Initially, they were brought to a nearby base, but soon it was leaked that the specimen was sent to other bases in Texas and Ohio for further testing, saying that what had actually landed on the farmer's land was nothing more than a weather balloon. So why did they send it to so many testing facilities? Okay, what's even weirder is that 50 years after the incident, the Air Force released a report claiming that the wreckage was actually part of an espionage mission. Bob Lazar claimed that the whole thing was a poorly planned cover-up, and that the strange events that took place in the area after the crash were due to the fact that what had actually been collected was nothing less than an alien spacecraft. Seems like a lot of lying going on from the government there. They keep changing their story. I'm sure in another 50 years they'll tell us what it actually was.
Alright, next up we have Bob Lazar's description of briefing documents. So we've already covered, and we'll talk more about the alien aircrafts seen at the facility, but what about their origin? Does anyone know where these things came from? Well, according to Lazar, the government did have quite a bit of information on these alien beings, and this info was shared with him and other workers in briefing documents. They were part of a briefing that was provided to personnel working on the classified projects at S4. Lazar described the briefing documents as these detailed manuscripts that covered this whole range of topics related to the alleged extraterrestrial presence. They contained info about the history of these alien beings, their technology, and the reasons for their interactions with Earth.
So, in the beginning, James did mention the 9 spacecrafts being examined in Area 51, but furthermore, over at base S4, it appears, according to Lazar, that they were actually able to figure out exactly how one of the vessels runs. And apparently, it's on Moscovium, aka element 115, or 115. The element supposedly first became known in 2003 after it was synthesized by a team of Russian and American scientists at a joint institute for nuclear research in Russia, although Lazar claims to have seen the element at the S4 base in the 1980s. So, what is element 115? Well, it's a super heavy radioactive element by bombarding the atoms of element americium, 243 with the ions of calcium 48. Hopefully I pronounced those somewhat correctly. Obviously, I don't recommend trying this at home. As I said, the element is radioactive, and also you probably can't do it at home unless you have some kind of $1,000,000 lab stashed away in your basement. Anyways, I think that I do believe Lazar, because if anything's gonna power an alien spaceship, it's probably gonna be something heavy and radioactive. Back to you, James.
Now, aside from all the alien technology stuff and the inner workings of Area 51, there's another interesting story Bob Lazar has shared about his time working at the base, and that's that his phone needed to be tapped. The higher-ups needed to be able to listen in on Lazar's phone to help make sure he wasn't sharing any sensitive information over the phone, but also to help get a sense of his home life. Lazar wasn't allowed to share any info with anyone, of course, including his wife. She was completely in the dark about what he was doing day to day, and she began to think that he was having an affair. And then she started having an affair. The higher-ups at Area 51 knew this because they'd been listening in on his home phone, but Lazar had no idea. One day he came into work but was stopped from coming in. Then in the days that followed, he started noticing that he was being followed. He found out after the fact that they wanted to make sure Lazar wasn't going off the deep end due to marital problems, and that he'd be stable enough to continue his work at the base.
So, Lazar saw the base, and he saw the spacecraft, and he saw what powers it. And then, apparently, he saw military personnel reverse engineer it. Honestly, I don't know why they don't just release this information publicly. I mean, the Pentagon released a bunch of UFO footage, and we're supposed to believe that the best they can do is capture it on video? Like, isn't the United States supposed to have the most powerful military in the world or something? I'm just saying, it might make them look better and smarter and more capable if they just said, yeah, we found a spaceship and it's ours now. But I guess you guys aren't here to listen to me rant about the pointlessness of gatekeeping UFOs. So, Lazar claims that by dissecting one of the vessels on base S4, the government was able to figure out how to build one themselves. Not only that, but he was actually one of the engineers who helped them do it. He also claims that the team used anti-gravity and antimatter technology while crafting the ship, and he had a front row seat to its initial launch.
Thank you, Hannah, and now I'm going to talk more about that launch. So because they knew how these vessels ran, the logical next step was to try taking one for a spin. Lazar described being called out to observe an aerial test of the spacecraft that he'd been helping to work on, and personnel were communicating with someone in the craft who was going to be piloting it. He described the craft as being very quiet, almost completely silent. On initial takeoff, it emitted a blue glowing discharge, making kind of a hissing sound, but once in the air, it just hovered silently. Then the craft did some simple maneuvers, moving around left to right in the air, before it lightly landing back on the ground. Lazar was also told that because traffic in the surrounding area was apparently lowest on Wednesdays, that's when the more impressive flight tests took place. This is where they'd actually take the craft out and fly it higher over the test site and do more impressive maneuvers with it.
So, if Bob Lazar's claims turn out to be true, which they probably will, he will become one of the biggest United States whistleblowers to date, much like Edward Snowden, who revealed the magnitude of government surveillance back in May of 2013. But now that the UFO cat seems to be out of the bag, Lazar has begun to fear for his life. In an interview with 8 News Now, Lazar revealed that the only reason he chose to speak with the news channel was because he believed the government was after him, and he felt that he needed to be in the public eye to ensure his safety. This is the same reason that he claims to have produced his 2018 documentary, Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. It's a very direct name, straight to the point. I like it. Lazar claimed that unfavorable things had started happening in his life after revealing the secrets of S4, which he did because he believed that by withholding the information regarding the existence of UFOs and alien intelligence, while many people have backed Lazar's story, with some even claiming to have witnessed the events that took place on the base as well, no one has garnered the same amount of popularity and scrutiny as Lazar, who has had all his credentials wiped from online databases and has been condemned and deemed as a liar by the United States military, who claim that not only has Lazar never set foot on the base S4, but also that S4 doesn't even exist. But again, the military is known to lie, so let me know in the comments who you believe.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the CIA spy plane. In 2011, Los Angeles Times journalist Annie Jacobson published a book called Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base. In the book, she included a number of never-before-seen photos of the base. The first one I want to show you is of a CIA spy plane. This photo shows an A12 Oxcart hidden behind a barrier at Area 51. This was a top secret plane that was created to reach high speeds and altitudes. During the first 3 years of testing this plane, everything was kept top secret. In fact, the pilots weren't even allowed to tell their wives what they were working on. On May 24, 1963, during a test flight, the plane crashed. The pilot, Ken Collins, was fine but had to eject himself out of the plane. But afterwards, the CIA actually injected him with sodium pentothal, aka truth serum, to then interrogate him after the crash. That's crazy. In our 4th spot, we have the rare photo. So this photo was also featured in Annie Jacobson's book Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base. In fact, this is a very rare photo that has never been published before. It was published for the first time in Annie's book, and that's it. This photo is an aerial view of Area 51 taken in 1964. I don't know why it was kept a secret for so long or how Annie got her hands on it, but she did and decided to share it with the world. Moving on at number 3, we have the early U2 spy planes. In the early 1950s, at the peak of the Cold War, the CIA began to develop planes that they wanted to reach an altitude of 70,000 feet to avoid detection against Soviet radar. This gave birth to the U2 spy planes that you see here in this picture. This photo was taken in Area 51 in 1956, and pictures of workers standing on the plane's wing. Sadly, at least 3 pilots lost their lives during test flights, including 2 at Area 51 and 1 at an Air Force base in Germany. Coming in at number 2, we have Boyd Bushman. Shortly before his death, former Area 51 engineer Boyd Bushman revealed that he encountered aliens while working at Area 51. In a video, Bushman shows a number of mysterious photos to the camera, including one of an alien and a number of photos of the alien's appendages.
We have a total of at least 18 that exist and operate with our facility.
Now, many people believe that this man is telling the truth. Why? Because he had nothing to gain or lose by sharing his story. Plus, an interrogator with the police studied Boyd's movements and speech pattern during this interview, and he said that it appears as if he's telling the truth. In the interview, he said that Area 51 has at least 18 of these aliens in their facility. He also claims that there are 2 groups of aliens. One group are called the Wranglers, the others are called the Rustlers. The aliens that are considered Wranglers are friendly and have a better relationship with humans. Rustlers, however, have been known to steal cattle. This is all insane. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Boyd Bushman and the UFO. During his interview, Boyd Bushman also revealed photos of real UFO spacecrafts that he saw while working at Area 51.
Up close and personal, this is a UFO which is ready to take off.
So that's a close-up photo of a UFO spacecraft taking off. Then he also showed a different photo of a UFO spacecraft with its lights turned off. What do you think though? Is Boy telling the truth? Are those real photos of UFOs? Let me know in the comments below.
Number 5. Virginia sighting. We have to look at some sightings to know what goes on in Area 51, right? If it's spacecrafts or whatever, we've got to look elsewhere for clues. 2 UFO sightings were reported to the National UFO Reporting Center in Virginia on April 4th, 2019, quite recent. At 6:48 a.m., an eyewitness claimed to have seen a light blue circular craft darting across the sky in Virginia Beach headed east. So already you're pumped, right? You're jazzed. Aliens confirmed, right? Then 7 minutes later, an eyewitness at the Norfolk Naval Station, 23 miles northwest, claimed to see what resembled a shooting star with a green glow that never faded. This object also moved without noise and disappeared just like that in 10 seconds. There were 2,348 UFO sightings reported throughout the state between 2001 and 2015. Number 4. Travis Walton, 1975. This horrifying abduction of a local Arizona forester, Travis Walton, take it with a grain of salt. On November 5th, 1975, Walton and a number of others from the logging crew, they were working with timber in the national forest, and then while riding in a truck with 6 other of his co-workers, they allegedly encountered a flying saucer or a saucer-shaped object hovering about 100 feet away in the forest. It was also making a high-pitched buzz, so it was very, something was going on. Walton exited the truck and ran over curious, and then a beam of light appeared from the craft and blasted him unconscious. The other 6 men were terrified and they drove away before returning moments later in panic to a now vanished Travis. Walton claims that he woke up in a hospital room observed by 3 short, bald creatures, aliens. He fought with them until a more human-looking figure led them to another room where he then blacked out again. Walton claimed he remembers nothing else till he found himself awake yet again alongside a highway 5 days later, naked, clueless of what had just happened. Number 3. Bren Sham Forest, 1980. It was Boxing Day 1980. The forest lies between the military bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. Now at 3 a.m., 2 military personnel, John Burroughs and Jim Peniston, they both respond to bright lights in the forest. The radios also stopped working, which is not helpful at all in this case. There was a static feeling in the air as well, and an odd silence. Now the closer the men got, the more they realized it wasn't one of theirs. Peniston was drawn in and he actually touched the craft. It instantly electrocuted him and apparently downloaded him with odd symbols and star map into his brain before the craft eventually blasted off again. 24 hours later, the craft returned and Deputy Commander Charles Halt is now witness in the exact same spot. Only this time, there are now 3 large landing holes in the grass. Years later, Burroughs and Peniston still ask each other and the British government for their medical records from that night because they never received them. Almost 32 years later and still, they've never received anything. Number 2. OHare Airport. The OHare Airport incident happened at approximately 4:15 p.m. in broad daylight on November 7th, 2006. The airport received this report that a group of 12 airport employees were all witnessing the same thing. They were all witnessing a metallic saucer-shaped craft hovering still over gate C-17. It was just waiting there for something. The object was spotted by a ramp employee at first, and then it was witnessed by pilots, and then airline management, and then numerous mechanics simultaneously. Air traffic controllers didn't even see the object on radar either. That's the scary part. But in person, sat a completely silent, 7-meter wide, dark gray saucer. Several witnesses outside of the airport also saw the object, calling local police and reporting it, of course, because they were terrified. Numerous phone-ins described a disc or a craft hovering above the airport as well for minutes without moving. So everybody saw this, not just airport officials. According to another witness, the object then shot straight up through the clouds at a high speed, leaving just a clear blue hole in the clouds. Number 1. Zimbabwe sighting. In 1996, a mass sighting was witnessed by an entire school in broad daylight in Zimbabwe. Yeah, more than 150 students and staff were all present at this point. There have been tons of documentaries surrounding this exact case. Face-to-face, arm's length with a craft, and also alien beings. Yeah, this is a whole cosmic visit apparently. The children, who are now mostly in their 30s and or 40s, are still convinced. They still stand by what they saw. More than 100 students can still remember what they claim to be telepathic warning from the creatures surrounding our use of technology and the hazards that it has on our planet. So that's cool. Director and writer James Fox documents this infamous interaction in his 2020 documentary, The Phenomenon. Area 51 could be housing UAPs or parts left over from interactions like this one in Zimbabwe back in 1996. Who knows?
Next up, we have Nan Dixon. Patrick Carnes isn't the only person to have gone missing along Interstate 80. This Nevada highway has had a number of mysterious disappearances dating all the way back to 1978. There have been hundreds of unexplained deaths and disappearances, but 73-year-old Nan Dixon went missing in 1978. On September 21st, Dixon was driving from California to Seven Troughs, Nevada to see her brother, but she never showed up. She was reported missing and a search was launched, but there was no sign of her or her vehicle. In 1982, her vehicle was discovered in a ravine under the main road of the Seven Troughs turnoff off that highway. The strange part is that this area had previously been searched. Unfortunately though, there was no other leads as to where she could have been. And so continuing the strange disappearances along the I-80 though, we have Judith Cida, who went missing in 2006. Cida, who was 62 at the time, left her home in Reno on February 14th of that year. The last known sighting of her was at a McDonald's in Lovelock, Nevada. After that, she was never seen or heard from again. Only her vehicle was discovered 3 weeks later on the Pumpernickel Valley exit of Interstate 80. The disappearance of Stephen Kocher. In December of 2009, Stephen Kocher, a 30-year-old man from St. George, Utah, embarked on a journey that would ultimately lead to his disappearance. Kocher seemingly vanished without a trace. On December 13th, he was last seen in Henderson, Nevada, where he was spotted on surveillance footage near the Sun City Anthem community. He'd parked his car in a cul-de-sac and made his way in the opposite direction back down the road. He had like a portfolio with him. He was dressed in a white t-shirt. That's really all anyone could see on the footage. Following this sighting, all traces of him disappeared. Only his car was found. Law enforcement agencies launched extensive searches, conducting interviews, scouring the desert landscape, and pursuing leads in hopes of uncovering clues. But despite their efforts, no concrete evidence emerged. His disappearance perplexed both his loved ones and the investigators assigned to the case, and the lack of information surrounding this vanishing has given rise to, of course, numerous theories and speculation. Some think that maybe he experienced a mental health crisis or decided to intentionally go off and start a new life somewhere, while others think it could have been foul play. And at number 2, we have Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is a rather controversial figure known for his claims about Area 51. In the late 1980s, Lazar came forward with sensational assertions that he had worked in this reverse engineering program with extraterrestrial technology at a site within Area 51 called S4. According to Lazar, he had been recruited to work on advanced propulsion systems of 9 alien spacecrafts held by the US government within aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. Sounds rather familiar to something Jerry Freeman may have witnessed on his trek in the area. Lazar described the technology as being far beyond anything known to human science. Lazar's claims attracted quite a bit of attention, of course. Some thought his claims were incredible, some thought they were incredibly stupid. He presented himself as this whistleblower exposing this classified information. The US government has consistently denied Lazar's assertions and dismissed his credibility. They've maintained that Area 51 is just a classified military facility primarily used for the development and testing of experimental aircrafts, but nonetheless, Lazar's claims have gained a following amongst UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists who see his stories as evidence of some sort of government cover-up going on. But coming in at our number 1 spot, we have the Area 51 call. This was a call made to a radio show called Coast to Coast AM, hosted by Art Bell, which was a paranormal themed show. You'd have all kinds of people call in, from people with stories about their own paranormal encounters to complete skeptics. The phone calls were never screened, and the show was pretty big, being picked up on hundreds of radio stations across the United States and Canada. On one broadcast in 1997 though, Bell received a frantic phone call from a man claiming to have been a former employee in Area 51. And right from the get-go you can tell this guy is very distressed. His voice is shaky, he sounds incredibly nervous. Now, he could totally be acting, but if he was doing a damn good performance. The stress in his voice sounds genuine. The man begins disclosing information about what he describes as extra-dimensional beings that had begun infiltrating the military and the government. He was trying to get as much information out as possible, claiming, quote, they'll triangulate on this position really soon. The conversation didn't last long before the transmission was completely cut. Till this day, the identity of that man has never been revealed. With all that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's all about mermaids that were captured on camera. Pretty intriguing, right? So what do you think? Is the footage real or fake? Click the video now to find out more and let us know what you decide. What are you waiting for? Click the video now.